Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You're listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything. Powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. The Commanders are back home at Northwest Stadium, ready to take on the Denver Broncos on Sunday Night Football. I'm Glenn. I'm joined by my co-host, George. Waller is out. George, what's up, brother?
It's been a good Turkey Day week. It's been a good weekend. I actually, believe it or not, I'm kind of ready for this game. I was sort of wishing they would flex it out so that it could have been 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, but I've been ready for this. This is going to be interesting to see what happens tonight.
Didn't want to flex it out because there always was a possibility of Jaden returning, but we'll talk about that in a little bit later. That's why it was not flexed, in my opinion. Hey, real quick, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search All Burgundy and Gold, everything. Also, tweet us at ABG_everything. Hit us up on IG, ABG_everything. Make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Gold Everything YouTube channel as well. If you're in the YouTube chat, we accept super chats. Super chats help support the show. Super chats will be prioritized over all other comments. Our pregame is also streaming on the Urban Sports Scene X handle as well. Here's the rundown. We'll chat with Bowie TV Commanders reporter Candi Waller. She'll be joining us live from Northwest Stadium. We also talk about the keys for Commanders' victory and prediction. Then finally, we'll select our Commanders fantasy football selection of the day. Here we go. Let's bring her in. Live from the press box at Northwest Stadium. We got Bowie TV Commanders reporter Candi Waller. Candi, what's going on with you today? How are you feeling?
Hey there, and I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving.
We did. How was yours?
Yes.
It was good. It was good. Mama Waller was in town, and we ate a lot, and it was very good.
That's what's up. Glad to hear it. Hey, Candi, first question for you, man. Washington Commanders come off the bye. They're playing on Sunday Night Football, another primetime game. How is the energy with this team, and how is the energy with the fans for Sunday night?
I mean, let me just be honest. It's very cold outside. It is very cold. But at the same token, I think the energy is, right where it should be with the team. This is not like a give up and tank. It's none of that, right? Because they're still bringing people back. We see that, Will Harris is back. So this isn't a situation where they're like, let's figure out what draft position we're going to get. That's just not them. It's just not it. And I think you see that kind of notion even across the league, right? We've seen some crazy games in the last couple of weeks. The week of the Commanders bye today, Thursday and Friday. So people are still playing because that's what they get paid to do. So that's where the energy is. Like, they got a football game that they got to try to go out there and win.
Yeah, not only that, we get Terry back tonight. How's that been exciting for the energy in the atmosphere that Terry McLaurin returns tonight?
I made a joke when I came in. I was like, Terry get here before me. He must be working on that quad. Make sure, because it's cold outside. Debo came in around the same time I did, which is good because I get here early. That's why I'm making that joke. Like, hey, over here. But what I found out was, like, everybody was here. And so I was like, really? And that's not typical. And so I'm like, maybe they're just excited, but also getting ready because it is so cold here. I think the energy is what we will see soon, right? They're in their Super Bowl era uniforms. Last time they wore that was not good,
Not
so hopefully it's a little bit it's better. So it feels like that. Once I realized everybody was here, I was like, oh, they're here early. Okay, all right. Well, I guess there is a football game happening here tonight.
Hey, while we talking about
Broncos fans enjoy the Super Bowl era uniforms and see those videos of Doug Williams throwing one down there to Gary Clark and some of them other touchdowns from that Super Bowl.
And speaking of Doug Williams, there's honorary captains tonight, which Doug Williams is one, Charles Mann and Dexter Manley are the honorary captains tonight. So I think that's pretty dope.
We're all in that Super Bowl against Denver, I just might add.
Yeah, and that is pretty dope. I mean, I think the Harris group has done a great thing of connecting with the guys from the past and bringing them back to Northwest Stadium and letting fans remember how great this team was in the 80s and 90s. and I think they do a great job.
No, they absolutely are. They're doing a fantastic job.
You know, can go ahead and list some Candi, who also are some of the notable active and inactive players.
Well, we know that Jaden Daniels is out. He is
Mhm.
not playing. Long snapper Tyler Ott is out. I probably need to go back and look at and check on that. But Jalen Holmes, defensive Jalen Holmes is out, and one of their other practice squad defensive ends has been elevated. So we'll probably need to learn a little bit more about that. Ale Cahoe, linebacker, is out, and Kane is in. Kane Madrano is in.
Okay.
Trent Scott, George Fant, both inactive. And it's important to note Darnell Savage is out. Again, mentioning a moment ago, Will Harris is in. He is active. So Darnell Savage is inactive.
You know, we've talked
Is that
about
an
a lot.
injury or is that sorry?
No, go ahead, George.
Is that an injury with Darnell Savage or is that just the coach's decision?
I think it's just Will Harris is back.
Okay.
So.
Speaking of Will Harris, we have talked a lot about Will Harris in the last couple of weeks about how a lot of people say he means a lot back in the secondary. Will we see a difference in the secondary, not only because Dan Quinn is still calling defense, but because Will Harris is back?
You absolutely should. I say that with full confidence. Just like, the Madrid game, I said, hey, I'm not going to guess wins and losses because that's just not what I do. But what I can guarantee is you will see a difference in effort for sure. And everybody saw the difference in the defense, in the effort in Madrid with DQ calling the defense. I think with Will, of course he's been out, right? So, there might be a little bit of rest there, but I still think there's a difference for sure. And I know that the fan base hasn't really even gotten a chance to really get to know Will or even sense him because he was hurt in week 3. But I think that's one of the things that I've been bringing up on this show, right? I instantly knew the difference. It could see and feel the difference without him there in week 4. So we'll see.
Go ahead, George. Question you got for Candi?
This Denver offense has struggled, except for the fourth quarter against the Giants and then to Dallas. They scored 44 against them. They've been having a hard time getting points. 18 against Houston, 10 against Vegas, 22 against Kansas City. And in none of those games would you say their offense looked great. This is now going to be game 2 for Dan Quinn calling the defense, and he's had the bye week. What do you expect out of this defense tonight?
I expect them to build on what they did before the bye. That's a bit more. Yes, the Miami Dolphins were 3-7 at the time, but football is still football. You still got to play and look like you're trying to beat or stop the opponent from scoring, right, on defense. So I think the level of effort should still absolutely be there. And I think we'll see a bit more disguises as well.
With you saying the defense being there, you guys have been around practice a little bit. What difference have you seen with Dan Quinn running defense than from when Joe Witt had it? And what is Joe Witt's role when you get to look at practice? What do you see Joe Witt doing?
Well, it's basically the same setup, and I think somebody said something about background noise. I'm in the press box. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but of course I can.
No, you're fine.
I'm in here.
You're fine.
Yep. So it'll be the same setup they had in Dallas when Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator and Joe Witt Jr. was essentially his assistant. So that's what this is. He is the assistant defensive coordinator, if you will. He's back in the booth. He'll be in the booth, and DQ is calling the shots, the final decision maker with the defensive scheme and defensive calls on the ground, on the field. So I know in Madrid we saw a lot of. Dan Quinn is always animated, but you definitely saw him directly engaged with his defense, even in between series, right? Talking to individual players, talking to the unit. It was a lot more of that level of communication happening on the ground. So I expect to see that as well.
Gotcha. Go ahead, George.
Turning to the matchup with the Denver defense, who's been just unbelievable for them almost the whole season. They have been carrying this. They've been carrying this offense, in my opinion, as much as anything. They're tough to run on. It's tough to protect the quarterback. Is this a game for the three running backs to really get going, or maybe just Chris, or to start with Chris Rodriguez and then come back with the other guys? What kind of approach is going to work against this Denver offense, do you think?
I mean, I think that's probably the best way to go. I mean, you don't want to necessarily get, hey, I could be totally wrong. Cliff might say, get Terry, get Mark, like get him going early. I wouldn't necessarily do that. I would, I just feel like this is a space where stick with the run. If the run is working, stick with the run. There's no reason to go away from it unless you absolutely have to. Yes, Terry is back and everybody is so elated and happy to see 17, but he's been dealing with this injury all season long now. So you just have to be careful. We know when he's making a play, when he needs to extend to catch the football and do all those things, and he's going to be covered by some amazing corners, which I've been talking about since the off season. That it's just one of those things where you got to be careful. But they probably wouldn't say that. They're gonna be like, if Terry's open, throw him the football. Definitely will see some more action from Debo as well. Debo, and you all have been seeing me talk a lot about Traylon Burks this week. I'm excited to see what he'll do.
I don't know if Glenn's frozen.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll just continue.
Okay.
I kind of been looking forward to this game because they've been off for 2 weeks, and because I'm viewing the rest of the season as getting ready for next year. But part of doing that is playing well and trying to build that platform for next year. And even for somebody like Terry, who's a veteran, he's barely played. So he needs to play just to kind of get his confidence back, maybe get that back, that he can show people that he can play and be durable again and be somebody we can count on for next season. How much are guys thinking about, I really want to come back and finish this season well and kind of put this terrible beginning behind us. Making the playoffs is that's out, but that sort of thing.
I mean, I think that we can look across the league right now, not just with the Commanders, and see, the Jets beat the Atlanta Falcons today. This is their third win of the season, and you would have thought they were making the playoffs. I mean, guys want to win. They're not putting their bodies on the line and sacrificing time from their families and their lives to just be like, shooting the crap. You know what I mean? Like, this is what they get paid to do. This is what they love to do. And many of them don't know what they're going to do if it ends. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to be giving their all. Every time you're on film, coaches and players, that's a job interview.
Right.
That's an opportunity. Tavita Pritchard is a prime example, right? What you're doing and what you're doing and what people are seeing, it's going to make people want you, right? And he's headed to Stanford. And so, to be the head coach there. So it is imperative. I mean, and let's also be clear, for this offense, this is a very hard game. Mm-hmm. Very hard. Against this Denver Broncos defense. So this is the opportunity for every single person to show and prove. This is, I had this game circled on my calendar for a reason, and it was because of the wide receivers, the Commanders wide receivers, and the Denver Broncos cornerback and safety situation. Their DBs are fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
And as Coach Quinn told me last week, like, this is a defense that they have playmakers at every level. They are good.
No one defense.
Exactly. For a very good reason. So to your point, George, yes. Offensively, you haven't seen them really get going, but you don't want this to be the game where they get going, right? But for a Commanders offense that has been played with injuries the entire season, mostly to that overall unit, this is a big game. This is a very big game. I mean, hey, this was actually the game that Jaden Daniels had said in the Fanatics Fest he was looking forward to because of their defensive abilities. So This is a very important game. This isn't it for anybody to slack. This is a show and prove each and every single series.
A questions in the chat here from Paul. Paul says, do you really think no, that's my bad. That was from DC Slim. Let me get back to Paul's question. Here it is. Candi, he said he missed a Cliff's presser. Will he change anything or be a little bit more creative? And I want to add to that, with Terry coming back, will we see in Marcus being the quarterback yet again, getting another start? And what Washington has missed, will we see more of the hurry up offense that we have not seen since Marcus really been starting? Because that's what worked well for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have to be creative. They're going to have to be creative and also stick with the run. Like, it's going to have to be a good balance. I mean, don't do anything too creative where it's just like, oh, good God, what are we doing? Like, it doesn't have to be like that. But it has to be effective. Player execution is going to have to be on point. Even if the play isn't like everybody's favorite, player execution is going to have to be on point for the offense. No turnovers. Protect the football, right? This is a game where the ball is life is real, meaning protect the football and get the football back so that the offense can get on the field. And that's from the defense perspective. I also would like to note their special teams units. Both special teams units here are very good.
Yeah. So who's the starting running back? Taj wants to know who's the starting running back for tonight.
Whoever gets the ball first, because you never know. You really never know. You never know. So, and I never want to know. I just, whenever whoever gets it, let's see. I would think it would be Chris Rodriguez, but you never know.
Right. It goes to the next question that John Hall has. He said C-Rod and the RBs need to have a great game. If not, Denver D is going to be a nightmare. And I think that is key there. I think you alluded to it a little bit earlier. They do have to have to establish some type of running game because you never want that defense to be able to just come and tee off on Marcus Mariota. And we saw a couple of weeks in Madrid, everybody held their breath for a minute when Marcus went down because nobody wants Josh Johnson to be out there. So the offensive line. Speaking of the offensive line and protecting Marcus Mariota, how is this offensive line a week off? People healed up. Brandon Coleman's getting started again. Is Brandon Coleman getting the start?
Laramie. Well, yeah, no, wait, hold on. Who are we talking about?
Brandon over.
I don't think so. Over Chris. I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But he's active, and
but he's active.
Scott isn't.
He's active for sure.
He's active for sure. Okay. Candi, what do you expect to see from this team as a whole? They have nothing to play for. They're playing. What do you expect to see from this Washington Commanders team? Had a week off.
Well, effort, and I mean, and I would think they would probably beg to differ to say that they do have something to play for based on some of the top seeded teams in the NFC losing this week, right? So they would say we still got something to play for, because people don't play for draft position. In real life, they don't play for draft position, because if you playing for draft position, what several have told me across the NFL, playing for draft position gets you fired. So these aren't people that are coaching for draft. That's not what happens. So effort, right? And we saw a better effort in Madrid. Like we did. We absolutely saw a better effort in Madrid. What I didn't see on offense is sticking with the run.
True.
They did not stick with the run because there were multiple times in the second half where some of my colleagues were like, "Is C-Rod hurt? Is he C-Rod hurt?" I was like, "C-Rod is absolutely not hurt because I'm looking dead at him and he is itching to get back in this game." Okay, he is not hurt. His helmet is on. He's waiting for his number to get called. He's fidgety over there. He don't know why he ain't in there either, probably. So, and unfortunately, they had a kicker that could not, deliver. So, and that's another thing to make note of, right? Yep. Jake Moody is kicking. Jake Moody was available for a reason. He was not successful in San Francisco,
right.
And at least there was with the Bears. This team, and everybody saw him in Northwest Stadium when he played the Bears. He was making all the kicks that night.
Got the winning field goal that night.
Yep, sure did. Yes. And so he'll be kicking for the Washington Commanders. So that is definitely something to be looking out for. Starting field position, huge for the Commanders. They really got to get that going. Definitely look out for Jake Moody. I hope they stick with the run and keep that consistent. Get the ball down the field if you absolutely need to, because you don't want to see a Denver Broncos, Pat Surtain pick. At least I don't, or any of them.
No pick sixes. No, Marcus has to be very careful with the ball tonight.
Very careful.
Very careful. Here's another question here from Will. Can Washington defense get after Bo Nix? Will we see more? Can they get after Bo Nix?
They have a very good front, very good offensive line, so we'll have to see. I mean, that would be the hope. Let's all hope. Javon Kinlaw was on rest a lot last week. So let's see. Let's hope that rest is good for him. And we'll have to see. Deron is back from his 1-game suspension, so we'll have to see what happens there. There were a lot of different disguises that they did against the Miami Dolphins, so I'm anxious to see how DQ gets them ready to go, or how he's gotten them ready to go for this one.
Okay, and here's another question from the chat from Paul. He said, "I'm using my clues. With Pritchard leaving for the Sanford job, is this a clue of coaching changes to come?"
I mean, just somebody that would be the quarterback coach. So yeah.
I mean, I looked at Tavita Pritchard as a potential person that could be promoted to OC if Cliff left, if they wanted to stay internal and not go outside. I mean, I think it's a big loss. I think Tavita Pritchard is an important part of the offensive coaching staff, and I know they're probably sad to lose him, although what a great thing that he's getting to coach at a major university like Stanford. Just, I mean, is he somebody that would have been a candidate if Cliff left, do you think?
I think absolutely, but this is a dream job for him and his family. So we're all super sad to see him go. He is definitely one of my people. So I'm definitely that hit me in the chest when I saw it. Like, wait, I just saw him. We were just laughing and joking, but he probably, because I would have probably made a whole spectacle in the hallway. You told me so. I probably would have fell out in the middle of the hallway. Nah, no. I would not have said congratulations. But by now, I'm okay to say congratulations.
All right.
So it's a dream job for him. So they're back on the West Coast. So it's fantastic. But yes, a loss to this staff and everybody, because everybody loves Coach Pritchard.
Yeah, definitely. George, anything else before we let Candi go?
I think somebody was asking me. Oh yeah, y'all already answered it. Yes, Will Harris is absolutely playing and starting tonight.
Yeah, and I'm very interested to see what this defense is going to. I guess that's just my final comment, and what this defense does against Denver, because Denver, if they go up and down the field on this defense, that's a lot of progress from 2 weeks ago that's thrown out the window, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great matchup for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is hey, it was circled on my calendar for a reason. It's not as exciting anymore with all the different injuries on the Commander side, but right. Hey, it's a game nonetheless.
It is.
It'll be interesting, but we'll just have to see, because it's really hard to tell. Madrid, that game was a very winnable game. All the everything was right there for the taking. The Commanders did not take it.
Not at all. Not at all.
That puts a lot of damper, because the game was theirs. It was almost at one point that I'm like, does Coach McDaniel want Dan Quinn to win this football game? So, but that's not what happened. So,
your feelings about Chris Moore. With Terry coming back, tonight, who's limited at wide receiver, and how many rep snaps do you think Terry will get in the wide receiver spot?
I mean, it would be, he's supposed to be full go, and so I'm thinking 1 through 3 is Terry, Debo, Traylon, which will be interesting. That in itself will be interesting. Right. Yeah. And of course, Jalen, Jalen was dealing with a hip injury. So I think that's something to keep your eyes on as well, with that hip injury and having to do returns. So we'll see. But I am looking forward to seeing what that looks like with Traylon.
Oh, yes. Definitely looking for what that looked like with Traylon and Terry.
Yeah,
with Debo.
After his finger injury conversation, I was like, excuse me. I don't know if y'all saw my tweet
Yeah.
about how he injured his finger. And I was like, can you say that again? Like, can you repeat back to me? What happened to your finger? I didn't think that you were going to say that. Basically, well, I don't even know. All the games running together, but his finger got caught in the corner's face mask. He still got the ball, but his finger was
Yes.
broken in half.
Yeah, that's like some Ronnie Lott stuff from years ago when his finger ripped off and they put it on
Literally
ice.
broke in half.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? So yeah, he showed me his finger, everything. I went through the whole thing. But that's some warrior type stuff, man. I was like, are you okay? Like, is everything all right? That's crazy.
But those three guys, real quick, that receiving core, is one of the best that Washington has had in a long time with those three guys out there. And we talked about Cliff earlier. Cliff has a full repertoire of running back and receiver, right, tonight, along with a decent backup quarterback. This offense should be better tonight, you would think, right? This offense should be at the top of its level. Also, with a week off, with all those guys to kind of work on some timing. I'm be like DC Slim tonight. I don't think there's no excuses for the offense not to put up points tonight.
I mean, you should be able to. That was one of the things where I said execution is so important. Protect the football. Please no picks. Please no fumbles. Protect the football. It is very cold outside now. Ooh, it's not. That's rough. But I mean, yes, if they got a shot. I'm not going to act like no way, because I mean we've seen stranger things especially the last few weeks across the NFL. We have seen some stranger things transpire. Okay, and let's see if they at least got some juice. That's all I'm looking for is effort. Don't look like you're quitting or you just was like screw it, but you typically take on the personality of your coach, and what we saw at least from the defense, they took on the personality of Dan Quinn. That energy that Dan Quinn brings, I mean, I just don't think he's in a position where he can not be involved in the play calling and making decisions, because he has the juice. Once you see players and they got the juice, people follow suit. People follow the leader all the time. So it's got to be a bunch of them leaders, though, with that same level of juice to really get these guys going. It's very, very cold outside. This game is a sellout. Who knows who bought the tickets or not, but it's a sellout. So we'll see. And maybe because everybody expects them to lose, they'll mess around and win. So
mess around and win. People stayed home because it was cold. Hey,
people stayed at home or go to bed.
Hey, Candi, let everybody know where they can follow you at all your social medias. We thank you once again for joining us and giving us your insightful thoughts that you give us before every Washington Commanders game. Let everybody know how they can follow you.
Yes, please follow me on X at CWallSE. SE. Make sure you're subscribed to Bowie TV. If you are in the Prince George's County, Maryland area, you can find Bowie TV on Comcast channels 190 and 1097. Bowie TV or Bowie TV Sports across all platforms. Trust me, in the words of head coach Deion Sanders, Prime, I ain't hard to find. I ain't hard to find.
Hopefully, our one word tonight will be proud of this team. Hopefully, that'll be our one word.
I got my tea. I didn't get my tea. I didn't get my tea yet, Glenn. I got it here because it's cold up in here too. So
got you.
Get my tea, sip my tea, and be like,
get that hot chocolate.
Now go get a bowl of Ben's chili. You know what I'm saying? Go get a bowl of chili. Candi, we appreciate you. You have a good night. Thank you.
All right, thank you all so much. All right, bye-bye.
Thank you, Candi.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Candi Waller from Bowie TV, who does a great job each and every week with us. Who does a great job with us each and every week here prior to the Washington Commanders games. Let's get into some of these questions in the chat. Here it is. We got Taj in my raised hand. Yes, decided to work overtime tonight rather than go to the game.
I don't blame you, Taj.
Hey, Taj, I ain't mad at you. It's cold out there. Go get that money, man. Make that money, Taj. Make that money. It's cold, right?
And believe me, I can say this as somebody that used my grandparents' tickets for a long time. I've been out there when it's been cold and the team's been terrible, and it's tough. It's tough. So shout out everybody that's going to that game tonight, even though it's 8:00, which means you're not getting home until 1 and midnight or whatever.
The sun is down.
I wish you all luck, because it was a night game that cured me of going to that stadium for many, many years. It was a night game where I had such a bad time getting out and getting back to Richmond that did me for several years.
Me too. When I cover the game,
I want to I want to pull up Paul because he's now come around on Cliff getting out of here, which I'm very happy about that, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot. I remember those night games coming out there, leaving, going to the media parking lot, the Gold Gray parking lot at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and having to take that 2 hour, like you, having to take that 2 hour drive down 95, right? Could do it in 2 hours.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it was 2 hours once you got out of that stadium. Sometimes it took 2 hours to get out of that stadium. That was the problem. My Lord.
I would take a nap until all the traffic was gone. I could make sure I was good coming out 95. But, let's get to some of the let's get to some of the comments here in the chat. Guys, a lot of the guys in the chat think, even if this team, and I'm going to ask you, George, before I go, if this team is better tonight, does that mean anything to you? As a Commanders fan, if the team, we know there's let's put it this way. It is a long shot for this team to make it to the next. They have to go on a tremendous streak, and you have to knock the Philadelphia Eagles off twice, do some things. What are you looking for? Buys over. What are you looking for this team in the second half of their season, quote unquote, second half of their season in these last few games?
I am looking for performances that aren't going to disgust me at the end of the night. And that's a low bar. I don't deny that. But let's face it, this 3-8 that they've compiled has been pretty terrible, with a lot of performances where you've been disgusted with everybody on the field and you've been left feeling like DC Slim, get rid of these people, get them out of here. So my hope is, win or lose, and I do think they're going to lose tonight, but I'm kind of being hopeful that it's close, that at least they're going to show me something that says they're worth wearing that jersey, that they're worth putting that jersey on, because not that it matters to the players, but when you wear the Super Bowl era jersey, it means something to me. I know that I hear the people complain about, they've been nothing but terrible in those jerseys. Well, yeah, that's you because you're in your 30s. I'm in my 40s. So I've been lucky enough to see that team in that jersey when it was the best in the NFL. So for me, it's just as simple. It's simple as, show me the kind of effort that says you belong with this organization. That's what this last 6 weeks is about, is proving that you're going to belong with this organization, or in the case of the young players, prove that you're part of the solution the next couple of years as we hopefully going to turn this around.
Paul says this, man. Paul says, DC Thumb said this. He said, I got to see different players who we can't keep playing the same people. And that's kind of the same thing that you're saying, George, that we can't keep playing the same people, that you need to see different linebackers in there. You need to see more of Jordan McGee, right? Because let's be honest, Luvu's gone. Not gone, excuse me. Bobby Wagner's retiring. Luvu, I think, has one more year left on his contract. Whether they keep him, get rid of him, whatever the case may be, we'll see there. But I think you do need to see more younger players, right? You do need to see the energy, especially on the defensive side of the football. On the defensive side of the football, you need to see the young guys. You need to see guys like Johnny Newton really step out, right? Johnny Newton really needs to step. Deron Payne, you missed the game, so you got an extra week of rest than everybody else. He needs to step up tonight. So you expect to see different things. Will Harris, everybody talks about how great you are, right? How Will Harris commands his defense. You need to see that tonight, right? You need to see Mikey get a little bit better this week, right? You need to see that. So those are things that I'm looking for with this team. And so that's where you had a week off, right? Think about, and I had to put it in perspective this way, George. All the teams that we lost to this season who came off a bye. Teams like Chicago came off a bye and beat us. I forgot. I think it was Miami came off a bye. No, Miami was going to
Seattle came off. I know Seattle came off a bye.
Seattle came off a bye. They were prepared for the Washington Commanders. I need to see the Washington Commanders tonight be prepared for the Denver Broncos with having an extra week to prepare, right? Having an extra week to prepare. And whether win-loss doesn't mean anything to me at this point. I think we need to see a better product that's on the football field. From where this team was at last year, we could talk about injuries, and most of the injuries, we could talk about injuries to Terry, you could talk about injury to Jaden. That's on the offense side of the ball, right? The defense still didn't stop anybody.
That's right.
The defense still didn't perform. And I know we got injuries on the defensive side of the ball as well, right? But they need to be able to move. They need to be able to stop the run tonight. They need to be able to get to Bo Nix tonight. They need to have some type of pressure tonight. Somebody mentioned Colin Farrell, that had 3 sacks today. But that's 3 sacks out of 12 games. You know what I'm saying? 13 games. And then so those type of things, you need to develop the players that's going to be here that you signed to more than a 1-year deal to be able to perform.
Yeah, and I would also add, I mean, I talked about it with Candi. This is an offense that's not very good right now and hasn't been very good most of this season. So you've got to this defense has got to perform against them tonight. And I hope we see more McGee, and I hope we see Medrano some. And if we don't, it's going to take, even if they play well, it's going to take a bit of the luster off of this, because at some point you have to start building for next season. Yes, we want to win, and as Taj rightly points out, hey, if the Jets can win, why can't we? And I totally agree with that. But this, let's start getting ourselves ready for 2026. And that doesn't mean tanking. That just means let's get ourselves ready for 2026, because that's what we're doing now.
Yeah. Paul says this, man. Paul says we should cut Luvu and get a brand new linebacker core. And that's me playing the young guys. I mean, again, you should get a little bit more athletic young linebacker core. Plus, he's playing out of position most of the year anyway. Is that, some people say that's Joe Witt situation. We'll see what Dan Quinn plays. We'll see what Dan Quinn plays him tonight, and how he uses him, how he plays him. Because again, Denver offense, George, you talked about it. They struggle, right? They've been struggling. So you have to, when you have playing an offense that's struggling, you can't give them any life, which means Washington can't give them a short field, right? Special teams can't give them a short field. You got to keep this team on the rope. They have to. The Denver offense has to be able to drive at least 70 to 80 yards every time in order to get a score, right? I think the key for Washington tonight too is special teams. You brought a new kicker in, reluctantly, right? We late. Let's be honest. We all know it's too little, too late to bring a new kicker in, but you have a new kicker in, who has made some big clutch kicks. Let's be honest. He made a clutch kick early against Washington.
And let's be honest. Look at the way the seasons have gone since that Bears game. The Bears have gone one way, and they're now the number 1 seed in the NFC, and Washington's gone
another way. But like I told you, I think I said in an earlier podcast or earlier show, they flipped from last year. Look how after the Hail Mary last year, the Washington Commanders went up and the Chicago Bears went down. So it's just a flip, right? From what has happened last year. Each week, we talk about Washington losing guys, but each week we expect this team to improve. You expect this team, a primetime game. The NFL could have flexed this thing. This is another thing. The NFL could have flexed this game because this game doesn't have, when you first saw it in August, it does not have the same appeal that it has now. And the NFL didn't flex it because I think Washington held out that Jaden Daniels would be able to return. But you got a Terry McLaurin returning tonight, which is kind of a big thing for them. And then you had 2 young quarterbacks, Bo Nix and, like I said, Jaden Daniels at the time, might be returning. So I think the NFL didn't want to flex it there. George, while we on talk about Terry, what do you expect for him tonight? And I want to say this, and I'm not by no means a negative person. All right, if Terry goes out there and get hurt again tonight,
I don't want to think of it. Honestly,
do you blame him or the organization?
I'm probably gonna blame him. But Lord.
And they say he's 100% go.
It is going to be just war on Twitter. It's going to be war on social media if he gets hurt again tonight. I wish you hadn't said it, because now I'm just sitting here thinking, oh God, I'm going to see all that in my timeline, and I'm going to want to bleach my eyes. My thing is, even though he hasn't played for weeks, and even though Debo's going to be on the field too, so they can't totally overdo it, I reckon Denver's still going to treat him as the first thing that they got to take away. That he's the first threat. The best corner's going to go to him. They'll probably even at times roll coverage to him if they can, especially if their front four can get home without the aid of a blitz, which we'll see if that happens early in the game. If they can do that, if they do that, Washington's in big trouble. I kind of thinking like a five catches, 60 yards kind of game. Maybe he gets a touchdown if this team's playing well. I mean, I think if he has a big game, that would be a wow, considering who we're going up against and considering it's not Jaden throwing him the football. So God, I hope if he got hurt. Oh, Jesus.
And the only reason I say that.
Why'd you say?
No, only reason I said it because George, look what happened last time. He came into the game back, and he got hurt. You're right.
I know.
And so after a spectacular catch, after a spectacular play,
Yes.
So and then some people like DC Slim, and I know I'm not like some people are asking why is he even playing, right? Why is he? And I'm gonna answer the question. The man took the Washington Commanders' money, all right? He set out a weeks of training camp. Washington Commanders did him a favor, right? They put him on the PUP list, so he didn't have to pay a fine. So in his mind, as a good athlete, as a good guy, he kind of owed the organization a little bit, right? Let me come back and play even in this situation. I'm making more money. I held out, but again, it makes Terry look right because I held out for more money because this is the possibility of playing in the NFL. I want guaranteed money because all the people said Terry was wrong. Think about if Terry had played on his regular contract this year. Think about if Terry had not held out and Terry had played on his regular contract this year.
Well,
right?
If he doesn't hold out, I don't think he gets hurt as much. And I've been on that train for a while. That's what training camp and preseason is to get your body up to where it can take the hits in the regular season, where you can go and lay out for catches and that kind of thing. If he played on his last year contract and didn't get hurt, this whole season is different. So he's playing because of what Paul said. He's got his $30 million, and it's no point in sitting him out because it's what other players is like. What Joe Burrow said. It's like, why am I not going to play when I'm healthy enough to play? What does that say?
What does that say? He loves this. Right. Same thing with Joe Burrow. He loves this. Terry loves the city. He loves the city. Loves the team. And he wants to play for the city. You know what I'm saying? You just look at players who hold out, and I look at it differently from that I did. If I play in this and there's a serious injury, they may not pay me next year. I may not get the $30 million that I'm looking for, George. I may not because they're gonna think I'm spoiled goods. They think I'm too old because the age conversation was already in the mix before he got his $30 million. So if he has these injuries and he hadn't signed a new contract, the Washington Commanders and Terry McLaurin are having a different discussion. So it makes Terry look better for the holdout to get his money and then get injured, in my opinion. Not that he can blame the injury or he can force the injury, but it happens, right? It happens. So that's why, I think athletes should get their money when they can get it. Get your money.
And let's just remember, before this year, he had 4 consecutive years of not missing a snap.
Not missing a snap.
And he only missed 3 games his whole career anyway. So before this year, he was as durable a wide receiver as there was in the NFL. And I think that's something that people are forgetting that should be remembered. And he was doing that, soldiering through on some terrible teams where there was nothing to play for by this time. And he was still getting out there and producing.
Hey, Paul agrees with you here. Paul says, let me find it. Here it is. Paul says that if he doesn't hold out, he's in better shape.
No question.
He's in better shape.
No question. And somebody I think it was Santiago was asking why so many injuries this year. This is why you've got to respect the offseason, the OTAs, the mandatories, the mini camps, then training camp, and then preseason. You have to get your body right to be able to play 17 games now instead of 16, which is ludicrous in and of itself. And the only way to do that is to take hits in practice and then to take hits on the field. And that's my biggest thing going into next season is that are we going to do preseason? Are we going to do the offseason preseason right? Or are we going to set ourselves up for this mess again next year? Because where DC Slim's got a point is if these coaches won't change, then they got to be out of here. If that's the case, if they will not change at all after what's happened this year, then we're cooked.
Right.
Because the way we did it this year was the wrong way.
But the way you did
in my opinion, it's always been the wrong way, but it has absolutely been proved this year that it was the wrong way for this franchise.
I agree with you, George. We talked about it last year. It was a run the wrong way. A lot of guys didn't play, but it was covered because the ball bounced. Big thing, the ball bounced their way last year, right? The ball was life.
Remember, the first two games last year were no great shakes either. You know, they got walloped in Tampa, and they couldn't score a touchdown against the Giants, and they snuck through because the Giants didn't have a kicker got hurt on the opening kick,
right?
Or the Giants probably would have won that game. And then, of course, in Cincinnati, it got right, and then everything went from there.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of guys.
That's the issue.
Agree with a lot of guys in the chat, man. It says this. I think Tim said that I agree the coaches are trying to save their job, though DC Slim. I think coaches are trying to save the job. Whoever's coming back, you're going to play, right? Because we don't nobody. It's better if you're 9-8. I'm just use hypothetical, right? Best case scenario. Not saying they're going to be not necessarily going to be 9-8, but best case scenario, this team gets hot and they go 9-8. It's better saying we're 9-8, right? Than being 11 and 6-11, right?
Yeah,
6-11. And so is difference there. Is a dynamic there. So the coaches want to put their bet. And like Candi said it. Nobody playing for draft picks. These are professionals. Nobody want to play for draft picks. And if you look at this draft, what's going to help the Washington, wherever they set at in the draft, they'll be able to pick up what they need. They don't need a quarterback. Don't need a wide receiver. They need line. They need defense, right? This team in Cliff Kingsbury, and there's a whole Adam Peters. They went strictly offense last year, younger in offense. Defensively is where you're old at, if you want to think about it. The Washington Commanders are old on the defense, and what has hurt the Washington Commanders this year has been old linebacker play, old receiver play. Corner play, right? Those are the things that they need to focus on, and I think wherever they land at in this draft, they'll be able to get what they need. DC Slim said they need coaches. Hey, I think there are going to be some coaches change in 6 weeks, right? I think there will be coaches change. Do I think that the head guy would change? No, that's not going to happen. Do I believe some of the coordinators would change? Yes, some of the coordinators will change, just not the head, not just the head guy. Because I think Josh Harris, Adam Peters believe in the head guy. I think if the head guy has another season, last year's season, right, with a semi-healthy team, buys Dan Quinn another year.
So as long as this team doesn't lose out and look awful.
Yeah.
I do think that if they lost the last 6 games and looked terrible, it would be real trouble. But if they play well, if they go, say, 3-3 down the stretch, and then in 3 losses they actually look like a competitive team, I don't think Dan's got anything to worry about unless he's not going to change the staff at all. That would be – that's the red line for me. You've got to change the staff after this season.
Here is Santiago question. Hey, once again, Santiago, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, Santiago.
Why do you think Dan Quinn waited to be the DC? A very simple question, man. I would think he waited to be DC because he didn't want to upset his friend, right? He didn't want to make his friend look bad. I think when you hire somebody, you know their limitations, and you think some things can cover it. If we all watched this team last year, let's be honest, the defense has not been good. They got bailed out by the offense multiple times last year, right? The best game that the defense played was the Detroit Lions game, and that's because they caused turnovers. They played a little bit more energy. People was in the right spot. And they were still getting ran on by Jahmyr Gibbs. So let's not forget that, right? They just got ahead of the sticks. The offense kept scoring. George, you mentioned the Cincinnati game. Guess what? The defense got torched in the Cincinnati game. It just
forced one punt, and that was it.
Right, it forced one punt, and that was it. And that was the difference in that football game. So let's be honest. The defense has been bad for the last 2 years. This year, the record says the defense is bad because I fail to believe if this team would have won the close games and the defense still be playing bad, Joe Wick Jr. would still be calling the plays. If they would have won the Atlanta game, they would have won the Miami game, they would have won the Chicago game, right? Those are 3 games that Washington could have won and they had bad defense. Then Dan Quinn wouldn't have been calling defense tonight for the Washington Commanders, and everybody would be saying we would all still know that the defense is bad, but Joe Witt will still have his job as defensive coordinator.
And for me, that's Santiago, the fact that we're even asking that question is the only reason Dan deserves to be in trouble. And it's where DC Slim has got a point. Because he literally let Joe Witt do as terrible a job as he's done and burn this season to the ground before he finally changed. He waited until it was too late. And that's a real big negative with me because it's not like this wasn't. The Dallas game should have been it.
Mm-hmm.
You take away the pick six, you gave up 38 and had Dallas gallivanting up and down the field on you, which admittedly they've done to a lot of people. That ain't the point. It was embarrassing. It was completely and utterly embarrassing.
It was.
And they were non-competitive in that game from the word go. And that should have been it for me. Because at that point, you still could have rescued this season. It would have been really hard. But you still could have rescued that season. He waited until Madrid when the season's cooked anyway to do it. And that's almost an unforgivable sin for me.
It is. The question is, DC Slim asked the question. Let me get back to it. Oh, what is Joe doing now? He's getting coffee for Dan. Let me stop. He's the assistant, quote unquote. I don't think he'll be here in DC, but I kind of agree with you, DC, that Dan has been calling plays. I think Joe was calling plays, but Dan would either veto or allow it to go. Right? He was giving Joe Witt Jr. the enough ability at the time to prove himself for another job. And again, Paul, I agree with you too. I don't think he was qualified for the job at the time. Because a lot of guys knew he wasn't qualified. Sometimes when you bring assistants over, bring people over, or you promise people positions, it's different because, how much did he do when he was in Dallas? That was Dan Quinn's defense, right? Dan Quinn had Bland. Dan Quinn had the other guys that was back there who was causing havoc. Let me use the lack of a better term. When Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for Dallas. If we're really honest, and I'm going with DC Slim, Dan Quinn wasn't the first choice here in Washington. Can we all be honest here, right? Dan Quinn wasn't the first choice. Let's be honest, and we always honest. We honest here, George, aren't we? We don't blow smoke. We're truthfully told. Dan Quinn wasn't the first.
Was put on a play. Was waiting in Zone 1 at Nashville Airport while we were flying to Detroit to talk to Ben Johnson. That ought to tell everybody who the first choice was.
Right, and then look what Ben Johnson is doing with the Chicago Bears. It took him a minute. Let's be honest. Look what Ben Johnson is doing with the Chicago Bears this season. So we know Dan wasn't the first choice, but he got here. He changed the culture of this team for last year. It didn't work out right now. It hasn't worked out right now this season, and the season has been a disappointment. So we'll see. Let's go back to Todd's question. We got to get ready to wrap things. Every player and coach other than JD5 should be evaluated by AP. Everything should be on the table. I hear you, Taj, but then you got to add Terry to that because he's not going to be evaluated. Just get that man $30 million. Larry Tunzel is not going to be evaluated on there because they know they need the left tackle. There are some players that should be evaluated. I'll put it this way. Every 1 year deal should be evaluated. Every 1 year person who's on a 1 year deal should be evaluated and might be gone. And should be gone.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I mean, again, right now today, I think Larry Tunsil's earned a contract extension. I think he'll get one.
Yes.
I think if Terry has a good final 6 weeks of the season, which is what I'm going to hope, and he shows that he can still be that top flight receiver that at least I think he can still be, even though he's 30, then we can stop. We can talk about let's see how we're going to get him some help. I'll give you and to me, Debo's not part of that equation because I think Debo's going to get a deal that's going to make it impossible for us to keep him.
Yeah, I think so too. Taj, I got you evaluated in terms of trade value as well, not just cut. There are some players on the team that is trade value. I think this team does need to get younger, and I think you might want to trade some of those players that are trade eligible to get younger, because you can get some things for some of these players. All right. Let me see what else. All right, George, who do you have tonight, man? We got to get ready to get out of here. Game starting in about 20 minutes tonight. Washington, who do you have winning the game? Guys in the chat also drop. What do you think the score is going to be tonight?
I'm going for a low scoring game here because I think this is not a good offense we're facing. I think this defense is going to play better with some guys coming back, maybe with some hopefully more youthful players getting in, maybe a reset after a bye. Denver's going to win because Denver is this year's Minnesota. They're probably a paper tiger, but because they've got a great defense, they're going to find a way to win games, and they're often going to do it in such a way that it's going to piss you off. So I'm going to go for Denver 20-17.
Okay,
probably with a late field goal too.
I got Denver winning tonight, but I got Denver winning 26-23. 26-23. Again, still 3-point difference. Taj got the Commanders winning 23-20. All right, Santiago got the Commanders 20-17. All right, DC Slim got Spencer Brown 54-3. It better not be. If it's 54-3, fire Dan Quinn tomorrow. All right, I'm just being honest. If it's 54-3, fire Dan. Just take, because it doesn't prove anything, right? Because Joe Witt gave up fire Dan Quinn, and that's, I'm saying that. You can mark the tape. Paul got Washington 24, Broncos 14. Timothy 27-24, Commanders.
Yeah, DC Slim's got 31-13 Denver. I'd be heartbroken.
DC Slim
I'd be heartbroken on that one.
Same script, right? Same script. Who is your fantasy players for the day, George? Who's to look for? If you had to pick a fantasy player, who's your fantasy player for tonight?
I'm now going to pretend. I'm now going to hope that Cliff is going to do the right thing, which he's struggled to do this year. If he's doing the right thing, then the fantasy player for tonight is going to be Chris Rodriguez. Because against a defense like Denver, you need to start with the hammer. You start with the hammer, and then you mix Bill in. You use McNichols both in the running game and the passing game. Chris Rodriguez has been coming on strong. This show, Wole and I both have had an agenda. We both like Chris Rodriguez a lot. I'd like to see him get 15 carries tonight. And I think if he does, he can run the ball in this tough defense. I think he's the kind of guy you want to run. If you're going to try to run on Denver, it's the kind of guy you need to run with. Let's remember something. Scatterboo. He had a very good game against these guys when the Giants should have beat Denver and somehow choked that game. And I had the Giants, so I'm still kind of angry about it. So look, that you can. It's hard to run on this team, but it can be done. Needs to be done with Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be receiver tonight, and I'm not gonna say Terry McLaurin either. I think Deebo Samuel is my fantasy pick for tonight. I think Deebo gets they get creative. I do think Terry McLaurin does score tonight, but I think Deebo gets the Deebo is my fantasy pick for tonight. Hey, some of you guys are going off in the chat. I want to get to these real quick, especially some of you guys we talked about trade earlier, George, and John has got the craziest trade. Jaden for 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 3s.
No, we're not trading. No,
Jaden's not going to get traded. That's wishful thinking.
We are not trading Jane.
John, is not going to happen. Denver should lose because they're silly bow nose piece. Because of the silly bow.
Just ran the pregame.
They just ran
By the way, in the pregame, they also had the Super Bowl 22 highlights, which that just made my heart flutter.
Wrong.
And Indian Lakes, Ohio, Jaden is out tonight. Jaden is not playing tonight.
Hey, wrong bow, because the other bow, Bo really knows, right? That Bo Jackson.
Yeah, that Bo knew everything. God, right. Dog.
Let's get back into some of the other trade. People says trades here. I want to make sure I get everybody in. When they were talking about these trades real quick. I do agree with this, though. Washington needs to get rid of old guys and needs to talk. I don't agree with them tossing Terry, but you just gave the man $30 million. You're not getting rid of him. Sorry, y'all. It's not going to happen, right? If he hadn't signed a contract, I'd probably say they might be able to get rid of him. You don't give somebody $30 million and then say, you know what, I'm going to trade you. Doesn't happen. Not in this league, not in any league. Unless Terry does something that is detrimental to this organization. Trade Terry. Trade Cosme, trade Payne, trade Luvu. Well, you don't have to worry about trading Payne. I don't think Payne is going to get re-signed. Luvu has a year left on his contract. I think you do try to shuffle Luvu, get rid of Luvu. But I don't think
why are we trading Cosme?
You don't trade Cosme. No.
I mean, I don't think he should have come back this year at all. I would have redshirted him this year, but we just gave him the bag too.
He just got the bag too.
He was a pretty good guard before this injury. I don't know why we're talking about trading Cosme.
Yeah, you don't do that. He just got the bag. Everybody looking for trade value, bring some players in. I am for the record. If I can get a second round pick for Terry, I would do it. I think people may offer, but to me, if you're going to trade Terry, you have to get the bag. You need a first round pick. You need a couple first round picks, and maybe. For the next couple years.
To me, the only way you're getting a pick like that is if you're taking some of the salary on. And I just because again, there was a time when Terry had unbelievable trade value when he was still on his first deal before he signed a second deal with us. And I think even through that deal, he would have had big trade value, but he's been hurt this year, and that's what everybody's going to focus on. So, that's one of those things.
Tim said this. Go ahead.
And Timothy's right, but that matters a little bit. But at the same time, AP's got to read the room. This is a guy that before this year was respected around the league, was durable, produced. You've got to think AP's got to think of the locker room next year too. If you're trying to build a culture, is that part of building a culture? So that's something that AP's got to reckon with this year. And he's got to reckon with the fact that we thought we built a culture last year, but it certainly didn't stand up to scrutiny this year.
Yep. So we need to get rid of Luvu and Wagner and add a good coaching staff, and we'll be great. I agree with that. I mean, we've seen how detrimental those two linebackers have been this year to this organization. Luvu is not playing the same because the tribal chief is no longer running in the WWE, but we just keep that moving. So basically, the narrative of not signing a receiver that is 30 years old proved itself true. Who knew? Yeah, it did, Taj. Can't argue with you. Can't argue with you on that. All right. The reason why I say trade Terry because the injury bug is prevalent over 30. I agree with you, Paul.
He's going to have a really good 6 games to get his value up.
Yes,
because right now his value is in the toilet.
He's going to
have to play well down the stretch to get his value up. And again, if he plays well down the stretch and he shows you flashes of being a top 10 wide receiver, then why would you trade him when you've got Burks, who might end up being a decent number 2, and there's good receivers in the draft that you could pair with him and help him, and you could have a pretty good receiving core next year. So
I would agree with my man Deluxe here, man. Yeah, I'm going with Deluxe, and I think Deluxe, this is one of the most intelligent. It's hard to believe so many have turned on Terry because of an injury. That's Snyder-like. Calm down, all right? Yo, I agree with you, man. It is not like Terry's performance has been bad. When he's out there, he has performed. And this is my thing. When he's out there, he has performed. When Jaden was out there, he performed. I don't get rid of people who are injured, right? When he's performing. It's different from Noah Brown, because I know somebody can say, how about Noah Brown? It's a different thing. When Terry played snaps this year, he has performed. He's gotten after balls. The team looked a little bit different. He is the number 1 receiver on this football team, all right? He is that. Yeah, he might be a little bit over 30, and he's pushing that. But you know what? So is Devontae Adams, I believe, too. It's getting close to that. And Devontae Adams is still being productive, right? So you have to have somebody who throw you the football to get you there. So, again, Terry, not getting rid of him because of injuries. Now, if he had stunk up the place this year and he had played all 13 games, then you might have a conversation. There's no conversation because this guy's hurt.
Yeah. Well, and Paul, that's great, but it's hard to trade players with a contract like that. And let's face it, Andy Reid also got to take advantage of people like Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder ain't in this league to take advantage of anymore.
No.
So, that's.
Taj, I agree with you, man. You always been consistent, Taj. I'm not turning on Terry, but what was the narrative during the offseason? You don't sign players near or the other side of 30 because of injuries. But everyone said not Terry. He never gets hurt. Taj, I agree with you. I was on that same thing too, saying, hey,
I was saying the same thing.
hold off on the money. Don't give him the 30 mil. Give him this. Make it more incentive based so he can get to the 30 mil. But he wanted the guaranteed money. The organization gave him the guaranteed money. It was a handshake deal. But I also think this, and we got to get ready to wrap up because almost time to kick off. I think Washington didn't want the bad PR hit of not trying to Terry McLaurin. It would have been a bad PR hit for the season. It wouldn't have been great if they had not signed Terry McLaurin for this organization, who has been who bent over backwards for this team, who played with all the quarterbacks that he's played with, who never said I'm gonna use a church term since a Sunday, never said a mumbling word, right? Except for one press conference. That is where people are talking about. But again, I kind of agree with DC Slim. Good coaching, because I saw some Emmanuel. I watched the Rams game today. Emmanuel Forbes wasn't bad. He did give us the game-winning touchdown, but that's a whole different story. But he played well, different coaching, and he has a different result. So,
and I actually watched Chase Young make several plays for the Saints.
Yeah,
which still blows my mind every time that he's down there and playing well on a team that's bad. That he's actually producing. I also watched the Saints kicker, who was from the international program from Ireland, make a 56-yard field goal, and I was triggered by that, as Glenn well knows today.
Yeah, last few things. Debo brought the injury pandemic from San Francisco. He's the outbreak monkey. Hey,
don't do that. Don't do that to our man Debo. Debo's been pretty darn good for this team this year. Don't do that.
Both. Oh my gosh, I will go this. Here it is. I'm going to say if Terry is on the decline. This is what I'm gonna say.
Next year may prove you right, but I'm gonna wait till next year before we make that.
Hey, Paul, I think you might be right, but I'm gonna take George's stance on this. I want to see the next 6 games. I need him to stay healthy for 6. And what does a healthy Terry McLaurin looks like with a Marcus Mariota or Jaden Daniels next week? All right. Forbes, I agree with you. Deluxe Forbes was broken here. He needed a new fresh start. They did break that young man. He needed a new start. Taj, here it is. I agree, Glenn. You have been. It would have been a bad PR hit, but fans would have gotten over it. Fans would turn on anyone. If JD5 has another bad year, watch the fan base turn on him too. I agree with that. I don't think JD5 had a bad year. JD5 can't get hurt, right? Because remember, before JD5 hit Washington, that was everybody's concern that he's not big enough, that he's injury prone, that he was going to get hurt. And so I think he has to be stay upright, has to be healthy. The season when he's playing has not been bad. It's just because of hurt. All right. Man. Hey, George, we got to get out of here. Hey, please join us for the pregame. Please join us for the postgame immediately after the game around 11:15.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification. All that stuff. Me and George will be here postgame, right? We will be here after the post 11:15. We'll be here. I need you to be here. I need you to tell somebody else to be here. Who cares about work tomorrow? We're talking about the Washington Commanders, and we're talking about the Washington Commanders. Hey, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and share this with somebody else. We appreciate you guys. Thank you, and see you in a few hours after Washington Commanders win. Peace.